All right, good morning, everyone. This time we will be looking at Unit 6, Internet and Email. First, let us look at um, Internet. We will be looking at the definition of Internet, what the World Wide Web is, how we can browse on the web, and how we can search the Internet using search engines. So, at the end of this, I expect you all uh, to understand how the Internet works, how to browse the internet using a web browser, and how to search the internet using search engines. So the internet is a global network of linked computers. Then what happens is that these computers are then able to share information with one another, communicate with one another electronically. So in other words, this internet is a network of networks. Okay, then some of those networks may be private, some of those may be public, some of those may be academic, some of those may be business, maybe for businesses, or some even government networks. Then all of these are examples of local networks in the global scope of the internet. Then the way in which these are linked to one another is electronically, whether we're talking about wirelessly or through optical network technologies. Um, right. So the internet carries an extensive range of information, resources, and services, such as the interlinked hypertext documents and applications of the World Wide Web, such as electronic mail, telephony, or file sharing. We will talk about these interlinked hypertext documents a lot, so pay attention to those. Now, the computer that communicates over the internet fall into two categories. One is a server and the other is a client. So the server offers a service to offers a service to other computers, while a client requests a particular service from a server. It's important to understand the distinction between these two. The server offers a service, whereas the client requests a, ser- a service. Then, um, before we continue talking about these servers and the clients, let us talk a little bit about the World Wide Web. Okay, so the World Wide Web is simply a subset of the entire internet. Okay, so this is a way in which computers communicate with each other and share information with one another, and it's probably the most popular part of the internet. Then um, you could also define it as an information space where documents and other web resources are identified by uniform resource locators. So, what this is that we have information that are at specific locations on the internet. Then we define the places where that information is using these uniform resource locators. Okay. Then in between these information spaces, we could have other spaces linked to other specific spaces. So spaces that are linked to one another, and you can access all of these via the internet. Um, the way in which they are linked, these spaces are linked to one another is through hyperlinks. Okay, so these hyperlinks are a logical link between two different components of a document, or in fact, a link to another computer. Okay, so the content of the World Wide Web, including text, documents, videos, images are stored in a computer called a web server. Okay, so the server that is offering the service to a client stores the information, um, um, stores the information. Then a user who would want to access the content would then use a client computer called a web browser to access this information. Okay, so what does this mean? So we could have a company or a business or institution that would like to share information in the form of text, documents, in the form of videos, in the form of images, or other multimedia, may want to share this information with some clients. So they would put all their information on a server. Then the client, the user, would then connect to this server with a client computer, okay, and request that information on the serving computer. Okay, so this is the difference between the server and the client. The server hosts the information, and the client requests that information as it needs. Now, you can imagine that you could have quite a number of users trying to access the same information. So having all this information in one location is convenient to the users, so that wherever they may be, they may connect to the internet and go to that location on the server and retrieve the information as is required. Then how is this information transferred between the two? Uh, there are a number of protocols, but the one protocol that is used in the World Wide Web is the HTTP protocol. So the HTTP protocol stands for Hypertext um, Transfer Protocol. Okay, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That so please remember that Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This protocol is used in a network that uses the client-server architecture to enable data communication for the World Wide Web. Then individuals and organizations that want a presence in the World Wide Web, as well as to share their information across the world, make use of web servers to store their websites. Okay, so just as I said before, except now we understand now how this information is stored. It's stored in the form of a website. Then client computers would use this HTTP protocol and then access the information on that web server. All right. Let us move on. Let us move on. So, how do we browse the World Wide Web? How do we browse the World Wide Web? We use what is called a browser, very aptly named. A browser is what then would fetch and retrieve information from the World Wide Web website, whichever website it may be. The website that is now created by the uh, entity that would like to share the information. So the browser would fetch that information and display it to the user, to the user. So um, the website itself is simply a collection of web pages and other information such as images, sound, and video files and other multimedia as well. So um, here, what is a web page? A web page is simply an electronic document uh, on the World Wide Web. Okay, then a website consists of a series of web pages. Okay, consists of a series of web pages, uh, and the website may contain a text or images, videos, and other multimedia, as I said before. And now The way in which we navigate between the different web pages on a website is through hyperlinks. The hyperlink can take us between pages on one specific website, or in fact, it could take us to a completely different website as well. Okay, all right. So, um, uh, each website has a unique address. A unique address that is its identifier to the browser, such that when you enter this address in the browser, it retrieves the information on the web server for that website. Now, each of these are defined by a uniform resource locator, and at the bottom there you see what they look like. Okay, you see what they look like. Um, you can see that the uniform resource locator is made up of the first part, which is HTTP, okay? That's Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This first part tells the browser which protocol to use to transfer the information. And then there is some syntax here, a colon and the two forward slashes. This is not something you need to remember. Nevertheless, the browser knows about it and uses it. And then here, www.unam.edu.na. This is the address of the website. So, in a nutshell, the browser is communicating to this website using the HTTP protocol. This HTTP protocol is uh, uh, one of the default ways to uh, 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 um, transfer information. That is why many browsers do not even need you to put that. You could just type the website name and it would add the HTTP for you. Now, on the internet, there is also a different way, or a more accepted protocol, HTTPS. The difference between HTTP and HTTPS is that HTTPS is simply secure, okay? It's secured by certificates, all right? Okay, so these are three different websites that I'm sure you are familiar with. All right, let us then move on. Then, what does the web browser look like? So, all web browsers are designed to look and work in a similar manner. That's why, if you take a look at the images below here, you see two different web browsers. On the left, you see the Internet Explorer, and on the right, you see Mozilla Firefox. So you can see that they look quite similar. So let us come to understand browsers, looking at the Internet Explorer and its different uh, features. But before we do that, whenever you open your browser, it opens on a home page. Or whenever you start up your browser, it opens on a home page. This home page may be different for each browser or depending on your settings. For example, for the Internet Explorer, we can see that there's msn.com. For the Firefox, we see it's google.com.na. All right. Um, yes. So now let us take a look at the different parts of each of the browser. Um, Here, we are looking at the Internet Explorer, and we will begin by looking at from the left here. Okay, so we're going to start with these buttons here. What are these buttons? We can see that one button is to the left, one button is to the right. Before I explain to you that um, a website is a series of web pages that are linked between one another with hyperlinks. Okay, So one may move to a different page on the website and want to come back to the previous page. So if you would like to come back to the previous page, of course, then you would just click on this button to indicate that you want to go back to the previous web page where you were. Then once you have gone back to the previous web page that you were, you may want to go forward to the page that you had moved to. Then if you want to move forward to the page that you had moved to, this button here would be would now no longer be grayed out, but it would be opened and available for you to click on. You can imagine that if you had not moved between pages already, if you had not moved between pages already, then of course these two buttons would be grayed out because the browser has no place to take you forward or take you back. All right. Then let us take a look at the next part. This is the active tab right here. So most browsers, if not all browsers, allow the functionality of having different tabs. That means that you would be at different websites without having to close or without having to open a brand new browser. Okay, so you could browse different websites at the same time on different tabs. In this case, on this in this tab or on in this browser here, we only have one tab open, that is msn.com. All right. Then let us take a look at the next thing. That is the address bar. Okay. What is the address bar? Remember we said that each website has its uniform resource locator or an address. Okay. So in this address bar, we put in the uniform resource locator of either the web page or the website itself. Okay. So each website would have a a uniform resource locator or a URL. Each website would have a URL, and that putting that address in that address bar takes would display the information of the main page of that website. Now, if you were to go to a different page, then the address of that page would be displayed in this address bar as well. Okay. All right, and then there is a title bar. The title bar you can see is very similar to the active tab. So many browsers have opted to get rid of that title bar. Nevertheless, you may still find browsers having those title bars. Then the bookmark. Okay, so let us talk a bit about these bookmarks. So as you know, there are um, each page which contains possibly unique information has a different address. Now, memorizing the addresses of all the pages that you may find useful might be cumbersome and overwhelming. The reason is because there's quite a bit of information on the internet, so we can use the computer to help us with that. As a matter of fact, we can use the browser to help us with that, to remember the web pages for us. So these bookmarks are pages that are marked, remembered, so that you can simply come click on it and go back to the page go back to the page with the information that you want, or that you were looking for, or that you had looked for. And I will show you just now how to add those. Okay. Then there is the refresh and the stop buttons, these two buttons here. So whenever whenever you go to a website, mm, data needs to be transferred from the server to your computer and displayed on your browser. Now, if as you can imagine, the more information the more data that you are transferring from the server to your computer, the longer it may take to do so. Okay, the longer it may take to do so. Whenever you are in the process of requesting information, this button, the stop button, may be lit up, so that you could at any time of the request, during the request, uh, during any time during the request, you can stop the browser from getting any more information. Then the refresh tab is to request the information again at the same address. Okay, that is what the refresh tab is for. Then what is the search bar for? The search bar, we'll talk about what it searches just now, but let us discuss the search bar in a little bit. Then there is the home button. This takes you to the home of your browser. Then there are hyperlinks. These hyperlinks take you to different pages on the internet. Um, if the entity that is displaying this information to you would like to link to a different website, that is what they could do. So you can see here, for example, msn.com would like to link you to outlook.com. So that's why they put a hypertext, a hyperlink in here. So if you click on that, then it will move you to outlook.com. Right. So though this looks nice and simple, in actuality, though this hyperlinks look nice and simple, in actuality, what is embedded in them is an address that looks like this. Okay. So just remember that it's not simply outlook.com. This news button here also has a address on the internet related to it. So this is only a way of displaying the information better, such that the user knows that if you click this hyperlink, it will take you to an address where you will find the news. Okay. All right. Let us then move on. Now, I spoke to you a little bit before about having bookmarks. So in Outlook, you can call this favorites. Okay, so um, sorry, in the Internet Explorer, you can call these favorites. So you can add favorites so that you don't need to remember the website address to your favorites bar or to your bookmarks by simply clicking this button here. Okay, the button that looks like this. Clicking that button would then add the current website in the address bar to the favorites. Now, if you take a look here, we were at unam at www.unam.edu.na. Then when we click that, then that website was added to our favorites. Okay. All right. So you can manage these as well. Let's say you no longer want to have this displayed here. You can simply right click on it, and then you can choose the appropriate action to delete or to change anything about it. Okay. All right. Now there are many options to manage our web browser. As you can imagine, many different people have different preferences, and therefore they may want the pages to be displayed in a different manner. The point of the server is to give you the information and to display it in a standard manner, but you could always change the way it is displayed to you, depending on your preferences. Okay, so the way that we change things is by using the page button. This button will enable us to create a new window or to change text size or to zoom the web page and so on. So you can see all the options available to you when you click the page button. You can see all the options available to you. We can use the tools button to change the settings of the web browser. This tools button here. So then there you can see things like the tool bars, menu bars, favorite bar. If you don't want the favorite bar to be displayed, you can remove it, the command bar, status bar, and so on and so forth. So there are many different ways to change the setup of your browser, and you can go ahead and play around with some of these settings if you would like to do so. If you would like to do so, and if you do make a mistake, do not worry. We are going to talk about search engines just now. Um, for your interest as well, if you are using a shared computer, you may not want your browsing history to be displayed or to be recorded. So by default, browsers will remember all the pages that you have been visiting. Okay. But if you want to switch that off, so this is default behavior. So if you want to switch that off, you could use what is called uh, a private browsing. Most browsers have this feature built into it, and this feature is very useful when you're using a public or shared computer. Okay. All right. Now, let us talk about search engines. So the internet is a very large place. There's billions of websites and a lot of information there. A lot of information is stored on websites on the internet. So um, uh, going through all of this information can be it would be an understatement to say it's an overwhelming task. That is why things like search engines have been built. Search engines make it easier for us to find information on those on the internet. Okay, it makes it easier for us to find information on the internet. Um, right. So in this way, then we do not need to memorize any URLs anymore. We do not need to memorize any URLs anymore. Now, there are many different search engines out there. Some of the most popular are Google, Yahoo, and Bing. So to perform a search, all we need to do is go to the website of the search engine, and type one or more keywords that you would like to search for on the internet. Sometimes these may be called search terms. In the address bar, or you can put this in the search bar. Okay. Also, you can also put this in the search bar. So for example, if you remember, on the Internet Explorer there was a search bar, and this search bar, you can see that it is using Bing. So if you put in your search terms here, then it will use Bing to search for this information. On this side, you can see that we use the search bar to search for University of Namibia, and on the Firefox, it used Google to search for that term. The University of Namibia. And then sometimes you may look for something very specific. So you might be looking for a news article or a picture or a video. So search engines have built in those features, so that you can simply click and then it will display on the images that all the images that could be found by the search engine pertaining to your search terms. All right. Um, uh, you could do the same thing for videos. Then it will display all the videos that the search engine could find pertaining to your search terms. All right, that will be all for the internet. Then I will see you soon, and so that we can speak about electronic mail.